Hello, thanks for tuning in for another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Galaxy Watch 5 and comparing it against the TicWatch Pro 3. And we'll go over all the features and differences and see which watch might be best for you if you're thinking about purchasing one. So the Samsung Watch 5 was recently released. This is August 26th, 2022. And this is the TicWatch Pro 3, and this was released in September 24th, 2020. So quite a bit older, but you'll see the specs compare pretty favorably. And there's a couple of advantages of each of these, and I'll go over into the differences and you can see which one works best for you. So let's go into the design. So you can see here, I put the same watch face on here so you could just see the differences between them. But they're both 1.4 inch display. And if we look here on the sides here, you can see that the Samsung watch is a little thinner, but the microphone is right there in the middle. And the buttons are in the same place basically. Over here, we got the speakers. The speakers are very visible on the TicWatch. And on the Samsung, they're right under here. So a little well hidden, but I don't think anyone's really looking for those. And we'll look at the back here of the sensors. The Samsung watch does have a new temperature sensor on here. And the TicWatch has the charging pins over on this side there. So the TicWatch 3 is a little more thicker than the Samsung. And the Samsung, the fit and finish is just a little nicer on it. And the buttons are much closer to the side there. They don't stick out as much as the TicWatch. That's personal preference. That doesn't bother me at all. So the TicWatch has a raised bezel here, just gives you a little extra protection on the screen. And then the Samsung is just a flat piece there. The Watch 5 is made out of armor aluminum or aluminum, same thing. It does have a sapphire glass, which is real nice and extra. It gives you a lot of extra protection on the front here. The TicWatch 3 is made out of stainless steel and plastic, and that makes it a little lighter having the plastic, but again, it's not quite as a premium feel. The glass screen here, I'm not exactly sure what it's made out of. I tried to find out what it was and couldn't get any details on it, so I don't believe it's Gorilla Glass, but it could be. I've used it for a long time here. I haven't had any scratches or anything like that, but it's not as durable as the sapphire glass, I'm sure. They're both IP68 rated. The Samsung Watch 5 is military standard compliant, standard 810H. It's also 50-meter water resistant, and that's 5 atmospheres. The TicWatch is IP68, but it's not military certified. They're both supposedly suitable for swimming, but I'm always very careful bringing these things into the water because I did lose one of them. Not one of these, but a previous smartwatch that was supposed to be waterproof, and turned out it really wasn't. The fresh water these things are certified for, not salt water. So back to the screen, 1.4 inches on these. Resolution's basically the same, 450 by 450 on the Watch 5 and 454 by 454 on the TicWatch. They both get to, they didn't really advertise this, but they both claim to be brightness of 1,000 nits. I haven't had any issues, even in bright sunlight, seeing these things. The benefit of this one is the LCD screen, which will time out in a second here. So the TicWatch 3 does have an LCD screen in the background here, and it's very visible outside, no problems there. Inside, as long as the light's pretty good, you should be able to see it, and if it's dim, you may not, but there is a backlight on there, and I'll show you what that looks like later. So the bands, both of these have non-proprietary bands, which is really great. The Watch 5 has a 20mm band, and the TicWatch 3 has a 22mm band. Any of those that you had from previous watches, they'll fit in here just fine. They both have the pins here for the quick release. You just pop these out and a new one goes in there, which is just wonderful. So talking about what's inside them, the Watch 5 has the Exynos W920 chip, and the TicWatch has a Snapdragon Wear 4100 chipset, and it also has another chip to save power on it. This Watch 5 has 1.5 gigabytes of RAM and has 16 gigabytes of storage. The TicWatch has 1 gigabyte of RAM and 8 gigabytes of storage, but there's no issue on processing or speed. Though I didn't have any issues with anything on the TicWatch, even though it has a little less RAM. And the storage, 8 gigabytes, should be fine for almost everybody, but if you wanted more, this one does have it. The Bluetooth on the Watch 5 is 5.2. On the TicWatch, it's 4.2. So that does make a little difference with range and also battery efficiency on the Watch 5. So obviously, if you can get the newest version, it would be better. They both have NFC. They also both have GPS. And the big difference between them is the battery sizes. So the Watch 5 has a 410 milliamp battery, and the TicWatch has a 577 milliamp battery, which is a 40% increase, which is pretty significant. Both obviously are non-removable. The battery on the Watch 5 Lasts about 1.5 days. Some people say they get 2 days. I haven't. Basically, I'm charging this every day, and that's not even using it that aggressively. If you use it aggressively, you would definitely be out of battery by the end of the day. The TicWatch, though, lasts up to 3 days, and sometimes a little bit more if you're using it heavy with using the GPS and have the brightness on and always on display and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe you can kill it in 2.5 days, but almost always I got 3 days out of this one. Charge time, this one's about an hour and a half. This one does take longer. It is a bigger watch, but it's about 1.5, more towards the 2 hours to do a full charge on this. The Samsung watch does have a wireless charging on here, so you get the little puck that you can charge it with. So the Samsung watch has the magnetic puck here. You just put it on there and it charges. You could also use power share, so if you're using it on a phone, you could charge your watch pretty easily with that. With the TicWatch 3, this is the little pins that you get here and some magnet, and it goes on there. It's a pretty strong magnet, but if you do anything to kind of move it around, this will jostle off kind of easy. So that was one bad thing I didn't like. And also you can't power share it with any phone or anything like that, so that's a little bit of a disadvantage. So the Samsung watch does have some power saving features, so let me just show you those. Get into battery here. And you can see here 76% left, and I got a day and 15 hours left. Now if you put on the power share mode, you can see it doesn't actually make that much of a difference. You got a day and 15 hours and a day and 22 hours if I turn it on. But if you turn it on, look at everything that happens here. You could read these, but basically the wake-up gestures are turned off, the always-on display is turned off, Wi-Fi is turned off, you limit the CPU speed, decrease the brightness, limit the background network sharing, location sharing, and all that kind of stuff, reduce the screen out time to 15 seconds, and of course no software updates while it's on. So all those are pretty good, except that you do lose the wake-up gesture, which I really don't like, and some people may not like to have the always-on display turned off, but the wake-up gesture is a big deal because anytime you go to look at your watch, you have to press the button, and even the touch face is disengaged. The only way to turn on the watch is hitting the button, and that is just really very inconvenient, and you're not really saving that much battery on here. You're not getting that much more life out of it. So I use that for a little bit, and then with the when your wake-up gestures are turned off and you always have to hit the button to even see the time, that was kind of crazy. So that was not helpful for me. And then the watch only. You get 15 days and 21 hours on that, but it is just a watch. It doesn't keep track of anything, and you just see a little watch on there. So you might as well just get a regular watch and not use your smartwatch anymore. So the TicWatch also has some battery saving features, which is basically the essential mode here, which is the LCD screen that's back there. And let me turn, if you hit the button here, or you could have it where you gesture it and you just raise your hand and you'll turn on the light here. So if you turn on the light, it's definitely visible at night, and during the day it's very visible with no issues. And if you can see here, you got the step counter. It does keep track of the seconds. Gives you the date, the time, and it also gives you the battery percentage. It does keep track of your heart rate as well, and it also does keep any kind of your sleep tracking. It will also do that as well, just with the essential mode like this. And you could turn on the essential mode, the light, for it'll stay on a little bit longer. But that's all. It's just one color. On some of the newer watches, there's more than one color. But that's what that is. And the essential mode will last 45 days. Which, again, you're losing a lot of features. You're not getting any notifications or anything like that. But it does keep your heart rate. It does keep your steps. And will do the sleep tracking for you. And still lasts 45 days. So that's pretty impressive. So let's talk about some of the other features that these have in common. They both do the heart rate, the SpO2 measurements. They both have stress monitoring. They both have keep track of more exercises than you need, like over 100 exercises each. So that's not any kind of issue. The Watch 5 will download data to the Samsung Health or Google Fit if you'd like. By default, and the TicWatch will download data to the Mobboy app, which is the maker of the TicWatch, and to the Google Fit. But you could download any third-party. They both run on Google software, so any third-party app will work just fine on these, and they would work equally well. Some differences. So The Samsung Watch does have the blood pressure and the ECG, which is a nice thing. It does have the BIA measurement, which is the bioelectrical impedance analysis sensor, which measures body composition, body fat percentage, skeletal muscle, water percentage, all that kind of stuff. The TicWatch is definitely not having that, but it is an older watch. The temperature sensor is on the Samsung. It doesn't have it on the TicWatch, but it's not active yet, and most likely it's only going to be used for just helping get better sleep data tracking. It's not going to be used to detect fevers and things like that. The Samsung Watch does have a snore detection on here, which works very well. It also does have fall detection. The TicWatch, some of the differences, it does have that dual display, which is really nice. The TicWatch is running the Google Wear OS software with no changes, basically. So exactly as it's supposed to be. If you have any watch that has the Google software, it will be exactly the same. The Google Assistant is on here preloaded, and it's the software setting. You just slide it over here, and there it is. The Galaxy Watch 5, you can get the Google Assistant, but it comes by default with Bixby, and you have to download the Google Assistant, and you have to download most of the Google apps that you want to use, whereas they come pre-installed on here. The TicWatch has a bunch of Mobvoi apps on here, which are similar to the Google Fit, but there's a couple extras in here. Tic Pulse, Tic Sleep, Tic Oxygen, Tic Zen, Tic Breathe. So there's a bunch in there that you can't delete, but you can always move them to the bottom if you don't like them. And there's a couple in here that you might want to use over the Google Fit. Back to the Samsung 5, it does have a compass on here, which is real nice, and it does have that digital bezel, which I would much rather have the physical bezel, but the digital bezel moves through the tiles very quickly, and if you're running through a lot of notifications or any kind of data, this does make it much easier to go through. Sometimes it goes through a little fast, but you do get a little notification buzz every time you move to the next tile, so you could move it slowly, and instead of just going swiping back and forth all the time, which is kind of monotonous a lot. Some of the smartwatches have a little crown or something that you could rotate. Either the digital bezel or the rotating crown or something like that does make it much easier to navigate through the watch, especially if you have a lot of settings to go through here. The TicWatch doesn't have that. It's all just swipes back and forth and up and down, which is just not as convenient, but it does get the job done. The Samsung Watch does have the Wear OS on here, but it does have all the Google apps, and then you could also use all the Samsung Watch apps on here. So you could have the Samsung Pay or the Samsung Keyboard or any other, or Bixby or any other apps that you want from Samsung, or you could use the Google app. So it does give you definitely a lot of options, and you could decide which ones of those that you want to keep. The TicWatch only has the Google apps and the Mobvoi apps like I just showed you. The Samsung also has a very refined software interface, which I went over on a couple other videos that I have. The interface with the software and the phone is very well. It mirrors each other exactly. The settings it could be changed exactly the same as in the watch as the phone, and it's very easy to do and laid out very well and very self-explanatory to do it, which is really nice. The Mobvoi app is a little more limited, but it does have most of the essential features that you might need. But the Samsung definitely wins with the software interface. And Samsung's been doing this a long time, so the software has always been pretty good, but it's just gotten better. So the TicWatch does have that LCD screen, which is, like I said, great. It's basically an always-on display that doesn't consume any battery. So that is a great feature on this, and the battery life on this is much better than the Samsung Watch. This one, you charge every few days, and you don't really have to think about it. The Samsung, every time you get home from what you're doing, you got to be charging it, otherwise it will be dead. For me, like I said, it won't go 2 days, definitely not. This one will definitely go, definitely 2 days, and sometimes 3 or 4 days. So this one is very good. This has all the, like I said, all the Google apps on there. You could download everything. It has the Google Play Store. So anything that Google has will be on here. So very flexible. The other big advantage of this one is that it works on all Android phones, Samsung phones, and Apple phones. Whereas the Samsung Watch 5 only works on Samsung and Android phones. And some of the features like blood pressure and ECG only work on the Samsung phones. So as I said, the operating systems, they're both using Wear OS. The Samsung does have the newer Wear OS version 3. The TicWatch 3 has an older version of Google OS, which is 2. It was supposed to be upgraded to 3, and with the 4100 Snapdragon chipset that it had, it was supposed to be able to handle the Google OS 3, but as of yet, it wasn't updated. It was supposed to be updated in like the beginning or the middle of 2022, and that has come and gone. So I don't know if this is going to get updated, but hopefully it will. There's not any major differences with the OS 3, honestly, but it would be nice to have the newest version anyway. And this one, like I said, does have the Wear OS 3, which is the latest software, but it also does have a Samsung overlay on it, which makes it kind of similar to all the Tizen software that it had on the Samsung watches in the past. So if you had any kind of Samsung, this interface would be immediately recognizable to you, and you wouldn't have any issues adjusting to it. It has more features than obviously other ones, but again, they're very easy to access everything. So let me just show you how we access some things here. So if you want some quick toggles, and as you know from my other videos, I love the quick toggles on the Samsung watches. You get all these quick toggles, you could add a bunch on here, and these things you could just swipe down, you get access to kind of any setting or feature that you might be changing, and you can do it on the fly without going into the settings menu and digging for what you need and remembering where it is. Just very easy to go through that. So that's on the quick toggles by swiping down. If you swipe down on this, you get the settings features. You do have a little quick toggle here, but this is not adjustable at all. These are all the ones you have here. That might change in the future, but that's what you got. And to get into settings, you just hit the settings there, and there you have them. With this one, we slide down, we get into settings. You know, obviously maybe a little more colorful, but they're basically the same sort of settings between the two of them. Then if we swipe up, we get your messages. If you swipe up here, you get all the apps. And the apps on the Samsung watch I like much better because you do have the 3 rows, and you can just see a lot more of them. So if you want to get into the TicWatch apps, you just have to hit here, and then you just got to scroll them. And you can see it's only 2, and you know, with the 3 rows, you just get a lot more on there, and you can go through them a lot quicker. So that's nice. You could also list the TicWatch apps a little differently. Instead of doing this, we can go into settings. Then we got to go down to personalization, and then we go down here to Malvoy Launcher, and just turn that off. So you just get them as a list, which is probably a little easier to scroll through them. And also you get the words, so you don't have to remember what each icon represents. If you swipe over on the TicWatch, you get the Google Assistant by default, and that can't be changed. If you swipe over here, you get your messages. If you swipe over this way, you get your tiles. Same thing over here, you swipe over, you get your tiles. And then of course you do the same thing here. You could add them, move them. And the same thing here, you could add them, move them, delete them, whatever you want to do there. So that is very similar in how they function. The buttons can both be adjusted on these, but the Samsung does have a better adjustment. Let me show you what that is. If you go into settings here, and personalization, and customize hardware button, but you can see it's only the bottom button. So this bottom right button you can change to whatever you want. You know, anything you want there, but it's only that one that could be customized. On the Samsung watch, you could customize a lot more. So if we go into settings here, and go to advanced features, and customize keys. And on these, you could customize the double press on the top here, and the press and hold. The press and hold, you only get a couple, but you know, that does give you some options though. And then the double press, you could do anything here. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you could do on that one. Then also you get the back key. You can't do too much with it, but you could do a couple of things. It's just a little more customizable than the TicWatch is. Now the other thing that I really like about these is the gestures, which I did a video on this in the past, and I went over all the gestures and how to do them all. They're actually really cool. With the gesture here, if you want to answer a phone call, all you need to do is go up twice and it will answer the phone. There is a little delay in how quickly it answers the call, so sometimes you don't know if it actually registered it or not, and I'm in the middle of doing my second pump here, and then the phone call goes through. So it does work very well. It just takes a little longer to access it. To deny any kind of alarm or phone call coming in or something like that, if your hands are free, real convenient. You just shake your hand twice like that and it will go off and stop the noise, which is nice. The other thing that's cool, you could set an app or a feature to launch every time you do a certain gesture with your hand that I'll show you. This is if your hands are not free and you want to have an app that you constantly use, if you're always checking the weather or something like that and you just want to be able to do it, you just have to get the screen to turn on, then you make a fist and you shake it twice, and I have the Google Assistant to go on here. So now I could ask to set a timer if I'm cooking something, or I ask the weather, or whatever I want, which actually, again, works like 100% of the time, which is really good. Gestures on the TicWatch, once the screen's on, you just shake it up, and it will show you the notifications that you have. And then if you shake it the other way, kind of like this, Then you get the quick toggle there, which is not all that helpful because now you still have to use your hands and touch whatever you want to do. But the messages is really nice. If your hands are full and someone texted you or you just want to see what would read it quick, you just do that. And again, it will show you all the text there. And if you have multiple texts and you just keep shaking, it will go down to the next one, which is kind of a cool feature on that. So they both have slightly different gestures. Both are very helpful, though. Let's talk about price, which is a lot of times the deciding factor here. The Watch 5 comes in a 40 millimeter, which is $279, and it comes in a 44 millimeter. That's the size of the screen. That is $299 at the time of this video. This also does come in a Watch 5 Pro, which is a 45 millimeter, so just slightly bigger than this one. It has a couple extra features, but basically it does have a much bigger battery, which is actually similar to the TicWatch. But that one is $449, so a significant bump up on that. So this one, the TicWatch Pro 3, this is $299, but that actually, it is 2 years old, and it does go on sale quite a bit. So if you look around, you can actually probably get a really good deal on this. Also, keep in mind there is a newer version of this, which with another terrible name, but it's TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra GPS, and that does have a little more durability on it, but mostly the same features. You could look up, I did another video on comparing these two, and you could see what the differences of the features are. Not that significant, but that one is also $299. It just doesn't go on a sale as much, and if you want the best value, I think this one is the best deal, especially if you get a good sale on it. So, to wrap up, I've had these watches, obviously the Watch 5 not for so long, but this one I've had for, I don't know, a year or a year and a half or so. They're both very good watches. The prices are different, so you'd have to decide what's worth it for you. But the Watch 5 does have some better health tracking features, definitely has a more premium design to it, and will get longer software updates, because Samsung did promise 4 years of software updates, and they've actually been very good with updating everything. The TicWatch Pro 3 definitely has a much better battery life, and that's why I kind of reach for this one a little bit more, honestly, because I don't want to be worrying about charging this every night and forgetting it, and then the watch is dead for the next day. So this is really great. It has that dual screen, which again, I really like that. It's also compatible with Apple. I really like it, like I said, for the battery, but it does have all the health features I need. I don't use the ECG very much, but it keeps my heart rate. It has stress monitoring if I need that. It has the SpO2 monitoring. That's about all I need for what I'm doing. It does have the GPS, and you could download music on it if you want. But the Watch 5 does have that ECG. It does have the BAI, which does the body composition and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I really used it once or twice, and for the ECG, the BAI I used a couple of times just to monitor my progress, which was kind of stagnant. So I haven't used that one that much more after that. So if you made it this far, please subscribe. Hopefully that head-to-head matchup did clear up some things for you. If you were deciding between the two of them, and you probably were since you clicked on this video, if you decided on one and regretted it, or you decided on one and really are happy with it and I got a great price on it, please leave a comment below and let me know. And like I said, turn on notifications because I'll be doing a bunch of these kind of videos, and I do a lot of software tips and tricks and things like that, and a lot of hidden features that I could find in the watches and in the phones. So like I said, please subscribe. It'll help the channel out a lot, and see you on the next video. Thanks.